But let's move on and let's talk about the pharma sector, because of late there have been a lot of USFDA inspection, but luckily our pharma companies have been actually getting away with it without any observations. But is this a key trend in the making? Is the USFDA outlook on the Indian pharma industry actually improving? We have Kewal Handa, who's an industry expert, to help us understand all of this. Very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And I wanted to understand exactly that. How are you seeing actually the Indian pharma business scenario improving, especially given the fact that now you have increased scrutiny as well?
Very good morning to all of you. I think we need to look at how Trump is going to impose duties. That's now very key. But I strongly feel that we have an advantage there, because the import duties for US products is just about 10%. And if we do a reciprocal, whereby we take that 10% off, which may be roughly around $40–50 million to the country, we can still carry on with a zero duty. That's the big hope. But we do not know what's going to happen. If the duty comes at about, say, 20 to 25%, then there are going to be quite challenges in the branded generics that we are selling, or the generics we are selling in US. I think as far as their compliance is concerned, we are pretty good on compliances, if you ask me. In the compliance, OI reduced by almost 50%. And we have more than 750 US approved plants in this country. And perhaps we are one of the best compliances and is on par with any US company.
Other than that, Kewal, another talking point has been, or rather question has been, as to how Indian pharma companies are going to make most of the opportunity, given that, the patent for generic Revlimid is going to expire come next year.
So Indian companies are really known to exploit this scenario. And on an average, 5 to 6 companies are ready with the products to launch the moment the patent expires. And you will see the competition setting in very fast. On day one, the prices almost fall by 70% or so. And some of them, I heard, are going to bring the prices down to almost about 80%. So the competition is going to be intense, and that is a normal phenomenon for any Indian company who's ready with a patented product. But my worry is not that. My worry today is more about how Indian generic companies are going to position themselves given the new geopolitical scenario, and also the changes internally that is happening. And how are they planning for the future, and what type of thought processes they have as to ensure that the growth takes place and ensure they protect both their domestic market as well as the global market. I think that's a major concern today. I'm finding it amongst the most of the promoters I speak to, and they say we are not certain what to do. The investments are on hold, the plans are on hold. And they're all waiting for this new phenomena of Trump to set in, and then they plan their activities. But I think they should start thinking ahead of that. And irrespective of what US does, we need to really move forward on various fronts. And we're just about 20% of our generic market globally, whereas in US, we are about 40%. Why not take that to 40%? There's a big question that we should ask ourselves. And what is needed to take that 20% to 40% of a global generic medicines?
So do you think Indian pharma company is positioning to accelerate earnings by gREVLIMID, Morambic? Because, India in a sense is now the exporter of generic drugs in the world, and we will see a similar trend in biosimilars?
Biosimilars, you see, US and biosimilars earn around about 35 to 40% of the margin. But US does not depend much on biosimilars from India. Biological and biosimilars, if you see, China is much, much ahead of us. And therefore, the challenge for all biosimilars is, if a high import duty is imposed, how are they going to service the US market or the other markets? And they, I think they will be more vulnerable than any other company, and I'm sure they are thinking about it what to do, because the margins are very thin, and at the same time really US may impose a higher duty on biosimilars, and then what do? And will you be able to sell on global markets? So I think it's a big question mark for biosimilar industry in India.
Um, what about innovation? Do you think Indian pharma companies are suffering because they are not innovating?
See, we've been always that way. We've been investing more on our generic or specialized generic products. Companies like Suns are doing it, but we are not investing a lot in NCs. We are not doing at all. In fact, a lot of companies started in a good way to do it and then given it back. So I think, except for in biosimilars and few companies have got here and there few patents registered. But we are not a country where we want to invest a lot in new products or new NCs. But I think time has come. You have an advantage of skill sets available in India. You have an advantage of a low cost. You have an advantage of chemistry and all that. So I think it's time that we should be looking at niche products to invest and make it a big brand globally. But unfortunately, that's not happening.
What about acquisitions? Do you think acquisitions in the US could be a prudent strategy for Indian pharma companies to hedge against future uncertainties?
In this uncertainty, even the domestic acquisition will be difficult. So I think they will wait now. And whether you acquire a company in US or you set up your own company in US, there is a different set of considerations are there. And it's not easy to manage US business. Particularly greenfield may take about 2 to 3 years. And by the time you start operations, maybe laws might change. Who knows? As far as acquiring a new company, yes, you can do that. But whether it would be competitive enough to compete with other generic companies there is something that you need to ask. And whether their future investments will be allowed some concessions. I think if that Trump gives it, that domestic US companies will be allowed investment concessions on tax and other things, maybe Indian companies, you're right, absolutely, should look at acquiring US-based companies.
Right, Kewal, so good having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time as always.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.